So Kenobi, episode 3. We've been following the adventures of Kenobi. We reviewed the first 2 episodes last week. So that was kind of nice of Disney Plus to drop the first 2 episodes, really getting you kind of familiar with what's going on, set you up into the story. And with this kind of new episode, so you see that Kenobi is still on the run with Leia after escaping, after rescuing her from being kidnapped. They're on the run from the Empire. And you see the Inquisitor Riva are kind of hot on their trail. With this episode, what I liked about it is it's a little bit more world building, and you really feel more of the impact of the Empire on the galaxy, because when they are going to the safe point, which Camille Nanjiani's character told them about in the last episode. You see, Kenobi describing, you see this place, it used to be filled with fields and grass and all these other things. It used to be gorgeous, and then the Empire came and kind of wiped it all out, and then them even hitching a ride, who was this alien who's played by Zach Braff, by the way. A lot of people thought it was Seth Rogen. I get that, too. I mean, it did sound a whole lot like Seth Rogen. But you see, he's kind of this, just... I guess bootlicker of the Empire. He's got it on his his vehicle, basically almost like a Blue Lives Matter type of bumper on his vehicle and everything like that. And
Empire Pride.
Yeah, I mean, you see that, And Kenobi, that's a nice little thing that they do, that where he just stops and looks at it real quick and goes like, shit. As he's getting in, I thought that was kind of a nice little moment there. And I do like a lot of the interactions with Leia and Kenobi. I think, again, Ewan McGregor has that great ability about him to work well and bounce off well with other people, just like what we talked about just previously with Joe Carey. And the moments where they're talking, about, kind of his history, which, and her history, I thought was a sweet moment between the both of them. And I thought that was kind of really good. And seeing their relationship, kind of I thought was kind of interesting to see. What were kind of your thoughts on that?
And the small bits of world building was nice, but there's a lot of issues I have with this episode. I'm gonna let you go forward, and I'll bring that up later. But I'll just give my overall thoughts of it.
Okay.
Right from I don't know. There's a lot of logic issues I have with this episode, but the sets are nice. Ewan McGregor is trying. He's trying to play Kenobi in a character that I think doesn't quite fit for what we know of him later. And my fear of this season is becoming slowly more of a reality, as it's going to be exactly what I expected from this when it was announced, at least from how they've handled Book of Boba Fett and other aspects of Star Wars shows on Disney Plus so far.
And what do you mean?
And in the manner of, they don't really care about continuity, more on the emotion of the story, even if it doesn't quite fit logically.
You think?
All right, I'll give you an example. Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
You think they broke continuity in this episode, or are you talking about?
Oh, they broke it. Oh, they broke continuity all over the damn place.
And
there was a review I read where he said, if you're trying to look at this in a continuity as a connection, you're gonna lose your mind. Just take the show as it is, and it's pretty good. And I'm like, A, that's a BS excuse. That never works for anything. But sure, I'll play that game. We'll look at it as its own thing. And even among its own thing, even if within its own context, it still has weak writing and weak character moments. Even if it's its own thing, divided to nothing else.
Okay.
So I'll play that. But I'm going to let you go ahead on that. My overall, I didn't hate this episode. I want you to think I hated it. But I am getting to the point where I'm starting to wonder why even making this.
Okay. So like I said, I do like the relationship there between Leia and Obi-Wan. I thought was very good. I like the world building aspect of it. And the big thing about this episode is you see Vader, which they don't try to really tease it out. You don't see a little things here, drip and drabs of kind
He
of.
just straight out see Vader.
You just straight out see him. He pops up. He appears, voiced again by James Earl Jones, who I think sounds a lot better.
He sounded better.
Yeah, here than he did in Rogue One. Because in Rogue One, I thought he sounded like oh man, you could tell like it's a much older guy.
He and when they did the remake as well, it really it was bad. But with this, he got a little oomph back.
Yeah, he sounded much better. So shout out to James L. Jones here. 91 years old. Shout out to him. So yeah, he's still getting getting them checks, man. I mean, I imagine how easy. I wonder if he even leaves his house. I wonder. He probably doesn't.
You know what? He probably has a recording studio at his house, and they just bring up shop and they do it right then and there. Probably. Or they probably escort him in like a limo or something, and he just does it. And it's a whole set, and he's just, thank you for your time, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I wonder, because it must be like nice, just coming there and just voicing that real quick in that quick little check. Yeah, that must be really good.
They have him on retainer for like a week if they need any additional lines.
But yeah, I think he sounds a lot better here. And then you see Vader, and I gotta admit, hey, that's a badass look, man. The cape, the all black. You've seen him there. The way it flows. The way he's walking. It's just like, yeah. And then you see him on his throne. He's in Mustafar, where you see his base. It's a clean look. I gotta admit, all black. That's a nice clean look. And of course I've seen Vader before the way he looks, but here, what I mean. It's just like, man, that's a badass guy. And then you see him show up, in this where he comes to this town looking for Kenobi. I think with these sequel, kind of movies, or I shouldn't say not the sequel movies, but now that Disney's taken over Star Wars, I do like they have made Vader feel like a good threat again. Something that I think the prequels kind of ruined, where you see him kind of younger him and everything. Like people say that he's kind of whiny and everything like that. Like when he showed up in Rogue One, it was like that was kind of big. It's like, oh, that big threat of Vader being one of the most dangerous forces. And it kind of gets into him being this attack dog, for the Empire almost. Mm-hmm. Being this guy that goes with the ground level troops to go, and he's really this major force of, this finisher there.
He's the SS officer.
Yeah, And so I think it very much kind of represented that, him showing up in this town, coming there, and just completely trying to get Kenobi, goading him to try to come out. Just picking up people with the Force, breaking a kid's neck, and I think this is the violence that Book of Boba Fett should have had, because you see,
honestly, really should have.
You see with Kenobi, you see when he was fighting those troopers, when he was, when he got kind of outed by them, and they were trying to arrest him. And he shoots one trooper with the blaster. He falls on the gate of the laser gate, and it cut in half. I'm like, damn. They actually showed that, him being like sliced in half. I was like, damn. Okay. So I thought that was, I think this is the type of violence that Book of Boba Fett should have had. But yeah, you see Vader just dragging people with the Force. You just see him show up, and just how much of a sheer presence he is. People just cower in fear of the guy. So I very much, kind of like that. And him just not even saying a word. So, what did you think of that, of Vader's appearance in this episode?
Vader's appearance is, again, I'm going to remove all continuity. I'm just going to take it as is this own little show. His continuity.
You're kind of breaking up there. You're kind of choppy there. Break.
Vader showed up when the Empire meant business. He didn't have to come in, and he always came in after the troops already arrived. They roughed it up. And if he was coming after you, he was going to get the answers out of you. Or you die. Either or. The fact that he just starts dragging people out. He's like, there's a Jedi around. All right. I know how they work. I was a Jedi once. You going to feel you don't feel anything? You're still not? Okay. He's not in the area. I'm going to keep moving forward. And and you just see the pure brutality. Never has to pull out a lightsaber, never has to do any of that because he doesn't have to. He just uses the power of the Force, and that itself is intimidating. Just pulls a guy out of the building without a care in the world. Just like, yeah. No, still not. All right. Oh, Kids tries to help. Bam, push against, snap neck.
Yeah. Anyone
else? It's like very much like anyone else want to. It's like make a notice. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, he just comes in as as this pure force, and like I said, doesn't even have to do. I mean, he's barely even probably flexing. I mean, you know what I mean. He's probably not even straining a muscle, just using the force, picking these people up, throwing them, dragging them. It's just like wow. And then you see in this episode, after when Kenobi got the reveal in episode 2 that Anakin was still alive, that he is Darth Vader. I mean, you just see him kind of shaking, kind of like almost like, oh shit. I mean, I know what I did to him. Like, oh damn. I mean, I hope he's not still mad about that. About me, cutting his whole limbs off and letting him burn in lava. I was like, oh, I hope that guy's not still mad about that. Well, maybe he forgot. Maybe it was 10 years ago. Maybe I don't know. And then you see him.
By the end of this episode, no, he does not.
Yeah, and you see that Vader very much when he hears Kenobi's name, he was like, I stop everything I'm doing and I'm gonna find him and I'm gonna make him pay. And when you see the face-off between the two of them, and Kenobi's just running because he hasn't used a lightsaber in the time he's ran away probably in all the 10 years. And then some people would say, also I see a criticism of this show is that it looks kind of fan film made.
It is very fan filmy.
You think with just this episode, or do you think the way the show looks in general?
I think the show looks in general.
Okay. And what gives you that fan film vibe to you?
So, the first episode didn't give me as much of a vibe as that. Because it had had different locations in the desert. It was small, but it was fairly small scale. With this, they've moved to different areas and planes, but it always feels zoomed in. It doesn't feel grand. For example, that gate, that's literally just a tiny gate. You just go around it. You literally just go around that gate. It's like if this was a Empire stop point or something, I imagine it'd be a little bit bigger than that if that was a movie, but it does feel small scale in a lot of aspects.
Didn't they have like two kind of like they're not big enough to be towers, but I guess two like little stations next to the gate that the guards were up in?
I mean,
because that's what he fell out of.
They had the little gate and the little guard thing, but then it's also surrounded by emptiness. It's just a tiny little gate. You could just walk around that shit.
Okay.
Or if he was gonna later on, he's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna press this button. It's not going. I'm gonna shoot it. Okay, cool. Oh, you did that because then you're gonna take the truck. Oh, and he just keeps on running. I'm like, why are you taking the truck? No, the truck is. Oh, damn it, Kenobi. Why are you running? Just take the truck. Well, they're all dead except for the farmer.
I mean, you could also say that
at that point.
I mean, the truck was also probably identified with the farmer. I mean, we probably didn't have any. License or anything like that.
Maybe, but that point.
Yeah.
You've given up on subterfuge at this point.
And so you think kind of elements. So you think why it feels so fan film made is just because it feels.
It felt the most fanficky with Vader, and very small scale. Okay. It felt the most fanficky when they're in that empty quarry, and it's like the blue lightsaber and the red fighting against each other, and I'm just running away, and I'm running this, and I'm doing this, and that felt very fan filmy. That felt very okay. We have a limited budget. We have to have an open area. It's going to look pretty good for a fan film, and it's going to look kind of good, but it does give that vibe of like we're very zoomed in, very close, not a lot of wide shots. We don't have access to a dolly. It's going to be very close. You can tell where the set is. You can tell where they're panned out. If you took away the curtains and you look behind you, you can tell where the crew is. You can notice these things as you're watching it. And that's kind of the vibe I got, especially when there's like the fire and he lifts him up and he's going to drag him to the fire. Which I don't remember Obi Kenobi having burn scars all over his goddamn body, but hey, I guess they're just making this shit up as you go along. So
Well,
I'll
I
go on for the
mean,
ride.
he is in robes throughout the entire original trilogy.
Yeah, but you see his hands and stuff. But sure,
Um,
it's scarred also on his face too. I don't remember Guinness having a scar on his face.
did it scar? I thought it just scarred his arm and stuff. I didn't see a scar on his. Did it scar his face?
Yeah, it's a little bit of his face too.
Okay. Um. So so the stuff like that. So the fan film kind of looked to it. I mean, I kind of see
Aspect.
that the aspect to it. I kind of see it because the lightsabers are, it does kind of have that fan film look of when people do like Star Wars fan films and they have the
Hmm.
lightsabers and they're so one color. They're so like very red or very blue or very green. And you see
Yeah.
like when they're fighting with the lightsabers when it's Vader versus Kenobi, which I kind of like that because he's just running. I mean he's scared as hell. I mean
Hmm.
Kenobi was shook. I mean he was just really really shook. And he's just running, and when they finally face off, and Vader, I mean, he was toying with him too. I mean, he probably could have just killed him if he really wanted to, but he was just, I mean, he was toying with him, playing with him, one handed with using the
Hmm.
lightsaber, which people have remarked that it was maybe supposed to be a callback to when Vader fought Luke with just one hand, or when he just fights, seemingly just in general, Vader. He just fights using the lightsaber with one hand, just using kind of minimal effort because it's typically all he has to do. I kind of see that with that, I kind of see a little bit of that. Also, I do like that scene of him just kind of running, him just kind of trying to evade him. And when they finally just face off and how just overwhelmed, kind of Kenobi is by Vader and how he's just kind of beating him down. You know what I mean? How Kenobi has the two hold on the lightsaber, holding him with two hands, and then Vader's just having the one hand. He's just kind of just beating him down with it. And then when it gets to that scene, or actually I'll go back when they first met and he says, what have you become? And he says, what you made me. I thought that was a really good line. I thought that was a really good exchange between the two of them. And then when it gets to when he's about to put him in the fire and he says he's gonna make him feel what what I mean, he put him through. I'm kind of paraphrasing there a bit, but that line that he drags him through the fire. I mean, I thought that was pretty brutal. Again, I thought something that that should have been in something like Book of Boba Fett of like maybe like a torture scene with like a where you dealing with the mafia and mob characters and that you have something like this in Kenobi where he's dragging him through this this fire and having him feel the burns and he was like, oh no, I'm gonna what I mean, you think this is just the beginning? No, this is you think this is the end? No, this is just the beginning. You know what I mean? I'm gonna really make you suffer. I thought that was kind of done. I didn't like at the end of that when he gets rescued by the character. I forgot her name. The one who's posing as the imperial officer. She was in Game of Thrones. She was the wife of the Pedro Pascal character in that.
Oberon.
Yeah. So she
She
was.
was also the most annoying character on that show, who, and not based on the books in the show, goes off and kills the brother of the man she loved because he's not getting it done fast enough, and then ends up in a prison where she just literally has to watch as her daughter is like dying of poison
Yeah.
and she's poisoned herself. And that's the last we see of her character.
Yeah. So she's from Game of Thrones there. So she saves Kenobi. That's the thing about this being a prequel show, is that it's hard to feel any good tension with the show or
Yeah,
any strong stakes because well you already know these characters are gonna be good. You already know that Kenobi is gonna be okay. Nothing seriously bad is gonna happen to him. So it's kind of hard to create stakes when you're in a prequel type of situation.
hmm
But she ends up saving him. The thing is, what I mean. Vader's just kind of watching as this slow lumbering robot is grabbing Kenobi's body and taking him off. You know what I mean. And the stormtroopers are kind of when they arrive on the scene, they're just you can't just go around the fire or you can't
yeah, I
do it.
know.
You can't do anything like that. So I thought that was a little silly and a little ridiculous. That you just can't do that. But okay,
Yeah,
whatever. And yeah, I mean, it's like nothing you can do, Vader, at all to get through the fire. Vader, I don't know.
you mean like you can't just do what you did with everyone else and just lift the robot up and pull it your way?
Yeah, I
Not like
mean,
the robot's gonna do anything.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. So that to me was how they got in that situation was just a little ridiculous, a little silly. But I did like that whole thing of him dragging him through the fire, and I thought that was really really good. So what were kind of your overall feelings of the episode there?
Not considering continuity, just the episode on its own, I thought it was fine with lapses of writing and intelligence on occasion. Like you said, that whole fire thing. Like Vader, why don't you just go around the fire or just use the Force? Or stormtroopers, why aren't you going to do anything? Whatever, fine. Oh, you're just going to get saved by this character we just met right now, leaving little Princess Leia all alone. Why would you? Okay, she's gonna get captured. She's gonna get captured. Oh, and she's gonna get captured. Cool, got it.
Yeah,
Uh,
again. Yeah.
again. We're 4 episodes in, and it might as well start over. Uh, I kind of don't like Revan's character at all.
Mm.
She's really starting to get on my nerves. She has one note: acting overly angry,
Mm.
and she is overacting that shit. She has no subtlety. She is just anger. She is just this, and that's getting boring really quickly. Also, they just threw the they confirmed. Oh, the Master Inquisitor is dead. He doesn't matter, and I'm like, you're the one who appointed him.
Uh, I guess yeah, we're doing spoilers.
Yeah,
So the creator of the show got asked about that, and then they said
yeah.
that, well, we don't well, I'm not gonna say too much, but we're not breaking continuity with that character. That's what they said. So they're like, I guess the character is gonna show back up again at some point
Whatever.
because they said that
I
yeah,
don't.
wait,
Yeah,
so yeah,
whatever. On that aspect, whatever. Yeah, there was just small ass. There are a lot of aspects in that. The whole thing of just if you're gonna destroy the thing, take the truck. If you're not gonna take the thing, go around. Just go around. That was like they did like one wide shot in this whole damn thing, and that wide shot was to show how small their set was. No. If you don't have a high enough budget, don't do that. That's you gotta stick to the 180 rule, guys. Uh, he kills 5 stormtroopers, and then 3 stormtroopers show up, and he's gonna surrender. And I'm like, just shoot them. Like, you've already killed 5 others. What does 3 matter?
I think it was with with the other stormtroopers. I mean, he had kind of like caught them by surprise almost in a way. And then with the other ones showing up, I mean, they directly. I mean, it was three. They pointed them guns at him, and you had
Well,
Leia, with him as well. So it was kind of a little bit of a different situation, I think, there with
or he
that.
pulls out his lightsaber and just deflects the attacks back. I just don't like. Yeah, just even within the show, even within the merits of the show, I don't understand why Obi-Wan is so weak. Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan Kenobi, he is the definition. He's the poster child of Jedi perseverance.
Hmm.
He is all the way from the very beginning. He's like, I'm just trying to protect the boy. I'm trying to make sure that he's ready. Then why aren't you ready? Why a Jedi perseverance? He wouldn't like. He's sad. He's apathetic. He doesn't trust anyone. All these things lead to the dark side. Obi-Wan always as a character, even within canon, even within this new canon,
Hmm.
he's always been a character. Isaac always been a character that has always been a poster child for the light side and perseverance and maintaining focus even in the dark times. I don't imagine how you can protect Luke if your lightsaber is buried in the sand and you've cut yourself off from the Force. And if he was so against anything Jedi, why is it in the original trilogy he's so adamant about Luke? Like Luke being like, he needs to learn. He's like, your father was a Jedi, like it. Let's start your training immediately. You should need to become a Jedi Knight, just like your father. I'd be happy to teach you. I've been waiting for this opportunity and this moment to do so. Owen's always disagreed with me, but I always felt it was for the best. They have a little bit of lip service even in episode 1, but I just don't buy that he's this weak. It also would have made the fight much more interesting. I mean, regardless, it also the whole fight took its fan family in just an idea because it takes away from the whole aspect of the original trilogy, which was last time we met, I was the student. Now I am the master.
Yeah.
Only a master of evil Darth. Except now you can go. Last time we met, I was the student, and now I am the master. Except we met in a quarry on a
Well,
random planet. Remember that time when I dragged you across the thing?
uh, well, so to that point, so though let's break that down. Let's see.
Sure.
So the whole thing about you see that Kenobi throughout the series, like even when he first used the Force, when you see him uses it when he tries to catch Leia, I think that was that episode 2.
Yeah, but it's
That
still true.
he almost like didn't even really catch her. I mean, it was only like it was like straining a muscle of just like what I mean, him just not even being able to do it because it seems like he hasn't done it in a long time. Apparently, I guess. And you see like with this, I mean, he does take out those stormtroopers, and he says, well, why doesn't he just use his lightsaber? Yeah, I guess he could do that. I mean, getting the situation, I think, with the stormtroopers when they rolled up on him, it was kind of like by surprise in a way. I mean, not by surprise, but they see him, they got their sights set on him, they got the guns trained on him. He also has to worry about another person in Leia. Again, I'm not trying to make excuses for the show. I'm just trying to give my thoughts, my perspective on what I kind of what I'm looking at here. And it seems like a person who hasn't been doing much practicing or any Jedi thing in the 10 years since Revenge of the Sith, and then where it leads up to where the scene where we talked about in A New Hope, where they have that famous exchange between Vader and Kenobi when they meet. And he talks about him being at once the master, and then and he was a student. Now the roles have been reversed in that battle. You see in A New Hope. Again, this is only half of the season. This is episode 3. I think they're gonna have another battle again, and then also this is 9 years before A New Hope. So and then there's talks of them doing a season 2, or maybe possibly doing a season
Oh
2.
Jesus.
So again, so I don't know if they are, and I don't know if that's confirmed. But there's talks, there's rumors of it. But
Hmm.
this is, I don't think it's just gonna end with him. The only fight they're gonna have is the one where he's just dragging them through fire. I don't think it's gonna end like that. I don't think that's the only battle they're gonna have. So
I mean,
that's just my thoughts on it.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, the whole idea in itself of even Vader and him meeting up before A New Hope, anyways, is just fan fictiony. This whole idea for this even show shouldn't even have existed because it breaks the whole continuity in half. All the things that set up the reason why, like the first A New Hope, their fight isn't supposed to be visually impressive. It's two old guys fighting each other because they're the end of their order. It
Yeah.
is good and evil fighting against each other. It's not meant to be. It's not supposed to be epic. It's supposed to be a simple. They're both using two hands. Is it two hands? They're fighting each other. Both have the strength and the force. And when he looks at the guy, and he's fighting him, and he's telling him like, "You strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." It's like it's such a great line. And then when he looks at it like Luke and sees him later, that whole moment where he just lets go and lets Vader take him, that's such an important moment. And it's nah, man, we're going to have this real quick fight on this planet. And they met previously. No, it doesn't beguile any of his character.
So
Even if you, yeah, go ahead.
is there any literature about that somebody did about the in between Revenge of the Sith, Kenobi, what Kenobi was doing between Revenge of the Sith or
So,
New Hope?
from what is mostly known, he did very small things. He kept his prowess with the Force, and he did very small adventures, and he always made sure to keep his identity hidden. It never got released. He maybe helped some people here and there, and he took care of small things in the meantime. He was always sometimes on the move, and he made himself as a friendly figure as Ben Kenobi in the Outer Rim area, where the Empire doesn't have much power in. It's pretty lawless, unless it's owned by a criminal faction, which on Tatooine is the Hutts. So that's from what I recall. So already we were half the show. The show should have just been Kenobi helping people and persevering the Force. And the other half, if you want to bring Hayden Christensen, it should have been the coin flip, and it should have been him pursuing dealing with the Empire, doing more world building with the Empire, establishing that they grew to power, and how much damage he's causing, and Jedi's he's killing in the meantime. Well, Obi-Wan is trying to bring life and pursue the light side of the Force. You could have a show where that's he's seeing, because if I recall, there was a book released where he knows about Anakin. He sees that Vader is causing this stuff, and he sees what kind of a monster Anakin has become, and he feels sorry, and he shakes his head, and he moves on. He's like in a saloon, and he hears about all these actions, and he realizes it's Anakin, and he survived. He doesn't need to be told about it. He just gets it because he has a through line to the Force, and he knows there's only a few people strong enough to go there, and I guess he survived because he doesn't fall for the whole Lord Vader thing.
I mean, if they kind of did that with, like you said, Hayden Christensen, if they focused more on Vader with the Empire stuff, I mean, it would just mostly be James Earl Jones anyway. I mean, mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't.
I mean, with a few human moments with him taking off the armor, that would actually be kind of interesting with him and certain other, because Vader did have a few people that he very rarely interacted with. But you could have like slow, like little moments where Hayden Christensen can act through, and it's like a duology. You're seeing the difference between the two characters and these two people that were once like brothers in arms, and now they're seeing a difference. I mean, I'm fine. I'm happy they got Hayden Christensen back, but I feel like they're just using both actors to prop up a story that it's just not going to have a satisfying ending.
Well, I mean the ending of their stories is. I mean
Obi-Wan's
is new,
but it's not a satisfying addition, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, and you see kind of Hayden Christensen, just him, as Obi-Wan sees him as he was as Anakin in this kind of vision there. Yeah. He kind of sees him there. Because I was always, I was kind of, it's like, how are you gonna work in Hayden Christensen? And like, are you gonna really see him? How much time are you gonna see him like when he's not covered up just in the suit? Because if he's in the suit, it's just gonna be James Earl Jones. But yeah,
I'm sure what they're gonna do is they're gonna wait till the very last episode. It's gonna mostly be James Earl Jones, and then for the last episode, with occasional showing of him in makeup and in a tube or whatever, and they'll be fighting because, of course, we need to have them have an epic fight. And they'll fight, and he'll cut off a bit of the thing, and his thing will go off until it'll reveal his face. And then they'll have a face-to-face talk, and Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, and then everyone on the internet can be like, oh, two actors are finally getting their due as they talk to each other. I know how this shit goes. I see where this is going. I know what's going to happen. And I'm kind of like okay, the show's fine. It does the bare minimum to meet some level of a story that people will probably be all right with. Except when they get a couple minutes, they're like, yeah, it's a little wonky here, or yeah, this is not here. Why is Princess Leia's here? I was just going to get kidnapped again by Revan. Yeah. By Reva, I should say. Revan's a better character.
With the, like you said, with the ending of their I mean, yeah, I mean, so they are going to have another fight. I mean, yeah, that's just storytelling, because of course you want the hero to lose.
This is what's going to happen.
You want the hero to lose it first, then come back and then win. Win again. I mean, at least possible. That's what you would want if they are going to do just. I don't know if they are going to do another season or not. I don't know. Ewan McGregor's. I don't know. He's a pretty busy guy. I mean, he's got a lot of. I mean, he does a lot of movies. So
good for him, man. Good for him.
I don't know if he wouldn't want to be tied down to doing a multi-season show or anything like that.
Honestly, he probably shouldn't, because the guy's got a lot of good things going. I'm happy to see Hayden Christensen though. He doesn't have to act. He actually owns a farmland, and he actually owns other stuff. Yeah. So he's been taking care of himself for a while now. But
yeah,
it's nice that they brought him back for this, and he's getting a paycheck.
Yeah,
I'd actually like to see. I hope this is like if there's any positive, I hope this is a renaissance for Hayden Christensen, and then he gets to act in more things on the side, because I think he deserves a better shot than where he was left with.
Yeah, it's nice he bought a farmland, got the fuck away from Star Wars fans for a bit, you know what I mean? Just
oh my god, yeah.
Get on the farm. Yeah, I mean, so I think so I don't I see that as a possible ending, like you said with that. Maybe there's a scene where he hits Vader with the lightsaber, and then it knocks out like his voice modulator or something, and then he talks with
Like cuts a little bit so you can see his face and stuff.
Yeah, because so you can see him in the makeup where he is all horribly. Probably, I can see that happening. I mean, they did that already in like Rebels when it was
Rebels.
in
Yeah, they did
Ahsoka.
it already. That
Um,
yeah, with Ahsoka. So it's like, yeah, they could do it again.
you know what I mean? They already kind of did that already, but yeah, maybe they'll do it again. So I definitely see that as a possibility, depending on how they do it. Maybe it can work. Stuff with Reva this episode. Um, I don't know how she knew that that was the hideout. I think that wasn't
Yeah.
explained properly. You can say like, oh, but she the Force, or you know what I mean, whatever. But
If Vader couldn't sense it, what makes you get to know?
you know what I mean.
Like,
Yeah,
and he was right there with Vader doing all this stuff. You see what I mean? Even when you take it away out of continuity, even when you remove canon with this show, there's little things here, basic things that happen just for the things to happen, but without a very good explanation or character understanding.
yeah,
So I can't really give it anything higher than just it's all right. It meets the bare minimum, but there's nothing exceptional about this show.
yeah.
And this is a show that should be exceptional. If you're going to tell Kenobi's story, he's fundamental to the original trilogy. Helps Luke and Leia's journey. Leia asked for him because she knew, because her father knew him and he was well respected. And the way she talked about him was never like, "Oh, I know him from a personal standpoint." It always was from a distance. Like, I've heard stories about what my father used to tell about you. You were a great Jedi Knight, and those
Helped
days
them in
are
the Clone Wars and things
help,
like.
and helped him in the Clone Wars, helped him in this. This was it's like you were as a credible asset. We need your help now,
Mm,
and that was the call for help.
mm,
And now it's no, I'm just gonna interact with Leia. She even asked him at one point, "Are you my father?"
mm.
And I'm like, why do you? As far as you're concerned, Leia, like Jimmy Smits is your father, and you shouldn't even know that you're adopted.
Mm.
But sure, why not?
Um, yeah. I mean, well, then it's. Well, I'll get into the continuity stuff later, but
You know what? I bet you. Oh my God! I bet you at the end of the season or next season, little Leia's gonna meet Darth Vader, and he's gonna be like, and he's gonna like, "You are my daughter," and she's gonna be like, "No, that's not possible. It's not
no,
true."
that is
They're gonna do some stupid. They're gonna do
no,
some stupid shit like that,
that is
and
not
it's
gonna
like,
happen.
no, I want it to happen. Look, if they're just gonna be stupid with this shit, they should might as well go all the way.
That's. I mean, I could see her meeting her. I mean, because it's already established that Leia's
It's always a step.
met him before, so that's already
Yeah.
established. She's met like Grand Moff Tarkin and them before, so that's already been established that
Yes,
she's met them before.
diplomatically and other aspects. Yes, she's already met them. It's like I could already smell the smell of you holding Vader's leash. Great line.
Yeah, so that's already. So maybe I don't know. I mean, maybe she will, or maybe she won't. I don't know. But like I said, so the stuff with Reva, her finding the hideout, I didn't really understand. You could say the Force.
Reva, not Revan.
Did I say Revan? Oh, I meant Rev.
You said Revan.
Oh, my bad.
I know it's similar. Reva is this
Revan.
new character. Revan was a badass Sith who was the apprentice to Darth Bane from KOTOR, from the Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay.
And it's 1,000 times more interesting than Reva as a character
Yeah.
in this show.
Yeah, so the stuff with her, you know what I mean, trying to find the hideout. Yeah, I didn't really kind of understand that too much. I thought that was there, and then you see the stuff that you said with Vader of why didn't he sense the hideout? I mean, he definitely much sensed Kenobi, and that's why he cut him off when he started to run, and that's why he cut him off there. But yeah, she caught up with Leia, kidnapped Leia, so obviously that she's kidnapped again, and then especially when Kenobi was like telling her to make sure that she stays with her to help her get to to safety. Yeah, I mean, and then stuff with Reva, I feel like with her character, like I said, I understand like her. You're talking about like a little overly angry or a little too one note. I think it's gonna be more stuff revealed about her character. There's the rumor that she was the child at Order 66, and I think if they played into that more of the fact that she has such a resentful attitude towards the Jedi, because you see the scene where she's talking to the to the people they have, the people, the townspeople, that the Jedi, they failed you, they left you. You know what I mean? And about how much of that propaganda really spread about, because the whole thing about why he was able to really take over was Palpatine was that the whole thing of like the Jedi really are the ones that want to take over. They're the ones that really want to create a fascist dictatorship around the galaxy. It's the Jedi who really want to do that. Not me. I'm trying to save you. So I mean, you see that kind of like I said with the world building of the show, where you see where they're on the truck with the alien, with the Zach Braff alien, where he's just talking about, hey, things are good. You know what I mean? Order in the galaxy. You know what I mean? Sure thing. And I support that. No matter what. Keeping things straight. And then he picks up the troopers and everything like that. Stormtroopers probably don't even care about the guy really. I mean, because the Empire is very much they hate aliens really. But so I thought that was kind of very interesting. And then so if you kind of leaned into more of that with her character of how resentful she is maybe towards the Jedi for failing, and then for not being there for her, and maybe again, it's tough to always talk about these episodes weekly because it's like, well, you got to see what where they go.
You're seeing a small piece.
You're seeing because it's a developing story, and as things are going, you know what I mean. Week by week, and what we're gonna see. But I see your thing about her being kind of one note in that whole situation, because I kind of felt the same really about her in the first two episodes. I think with this one, I still kind of get that feeling a little bit, but I still think it was a little bit more of an improvement here. With the stuff they did, just acting wise, I think she did a little bit better here than I did in the first two episodes. And I think with the stuff with the villains in general, it's very, generic kind of villain stuff, pretty much.
Generic one note.
Yeah, I think that's kind of generally with the villains in this period.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I've seen, even within Star Wars, other shows, I've seen better dynamic, more nuanced villain characters than these. Even in, God help me, I haven't seen much of Rebels, but even in Rebels, I saw a bit more dynamic characters in the Inquisitors than on this show.
Oh, you didn't like Rebels? I thought Rebels was
I didn't hate Rebels. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was fine. It's not as good as the Clone Wars. It's a bit more kid friendly than that, but still a bit darker for a kid show. But that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't think Rebels was made with me. It wasn't something I gravitated towards. Like, I was surprised at how good Clone Wars eventually really became, and still remains so. Rebels was kind of a bit lesser for me in that aspect, but it wasn't a bad show. I wouldn't say it was a bad show or anything like that. It was still a pretty solid show. But I saw some aspects of it, and even I can be like, yeah, no, the villains were handled even better than this. Even in cartoon shows, they show more nuance than live action performances.
Yeah, and that's kind of the tough thing, because this is 6 episodes. So again, it goes in that Disney Plus thing. We talk about like 6 episodes. And then the stuff with the Rebels. I mean, that's over a course of so many episodes, so many seasons.
Oh yeah,
and then
but I'm talking even in the Clone Wars, where you'd see like a villain for a episode. And they'd show up like once. They'd at least have something, a through line. We've had 3 episodes so far, and all of the Inquisitors are one note, pretty one note.
Yeah, they all
as characters.
They all just kind of now vying for the job of the Grand Inquisitor, trying to gain favor with Vader. With that stuff. And then the continuity stuff. I mean, there's so many issues with the continuity stuff. Even the Inquisitors themselves. It's just like that even kind of breaks some continuity. And then
yes, it does. Even the Inquisitors as themselves breaks continuity.
That does. But people, I think, generally like the Inquisitors. Hey, thanks, Javon Good. Thank you for the 50 bits, man. Thank you, Terry Thompson, by the way. Thank you for coming in with the alert, by the way. But even the Inquisitors themselves break continuity. And then even the stuff where, I know the prequels break continuity all the time. Because they mentioned in the original trilogy how she remembered her mother, but then
I brought that up. Yeah.
And then the prequel trilogy, obviously, Natalie Portman, Padme, she died in childbirth, so how did she remember her mother? But then this, I guess, kind of corrects that, because she had an adoptive mother, so I guess it's...
That doesn't correct it, because he's asking specifically about their birth mother. He's trying to connect them.
Yeah.
So that doesn't exactly correct it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I actually would have been totally cool if they retconned that and they said, "Oh, she died," in quotes, and Natalie Portman has a surprise cameo in this. I actually would have given a huge like, "Oh, that actually is awesome." They lied. They completely lied and said that Padme died and she ended up with Jimmy Smith and hiding, and she's not super happy. She likes Jimmy Smith, but she still loves Anakin, and they're in a good relationship, but not they're not in love, or it's one sided love. But
Mm.
she's still a good mother to Leia. That actually would have been a oh, that actually fixes some problems and would have been fine. I would have been more accepting on that nature of a oh okay cool. We're kind of fixing that aspect of it.
Mm.
But nah, they're
Yeah.
just doing what they're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, they were talking about specifically their birth mother. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not yeah. So that wouldn't really fit since Leia knows she's adopted. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, you can go. Yeah, there's always different continuity things and things with this Star Wars. Darth Maul got cut in half. He came back. Yeah, sure. Okay.
But at
But
least they spent like dozens of episodes building him back up as a character.
yeah, it was good.
So there at least is something like that where it's like, well, at least it's stupid, but they spent time repairing the stupid.
Yeah, and he had a good arc in Rebels. He had a really good arc in
He
Rebels. So,
actually,
yeah.
so of Rebels, his idea of that is probably the best aspect of that show, and ending with Obi-Wan, where Obi-Wan is not as he's portrayed in the show, and is actually the way he should be portrayed.
Well,
And they have
that's
one final battle.
yeah,
I know.
yeah,
And ends in a nice little quick fight, and that's it.
yeah. Nice like samurai battle, almost like a samurai
It
battle.
is, yeah.
And
Whoever can strike first.
yeah. So yeah, that was a nice fight, showdown with Kenobi and that Rebels. But yeah,
Hmm.
back to Kenobi. Yeah. Episode 3. Yeah, I thought this was for me. I thought it was the best episode so far for me. I thought it had a lot of things going on. I mean, Vader, mostly for Vader, just showing up.
Yeah.
Just being, what I mean, showing
He's
that
a
as
cool villain.
yeah, cool villain, and showing him being intimidating and being this big threat, this big force, and him coming out, and then Kenobi running scared as hell. I mean, that was something. So, yeah, mostly for that, I really did like him, really did enjoy. Yeah. And then I don't know. Also, at this point in time, I don't know if there is a rebellion or will they get into that much. I don't know. But I don't know at this
I
point in time.
think the whole smuggling character is supposed to be a reference to the rebellion.
Yeah. What was his name again? The one that he saw the written stuff on the wall when he went to the hideout.
Oh, I don't Quan something.
Yeah, I forgot his exact name, but yeah, I guess that's supposed to be a little bit of a reference to like the beginnings of the rebellion and everything like that, and them also smuggling, force sensitive kids, which also I think is a thing. I'm surprised they've never done like a movie or a show about that idea. I've had that idea about like what if they do something about where it's like them, smuggling or helping, force
That could
sense.
have been a great little show. Maybe have a cameo with would have had cameo with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he helps him along. That would have been a nice little cameo too. It's just a group. It's like iron-blooded orphans, but they're young, but they're all force sensitive. They have to stick together,
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, I think that would
make
be.
it through the Empire as it is now.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting idea. But yeah, I thought it was a solid episode. I think it's better than the last two episodes. What about you?
It's fine. It's okay. It's not. I look, man. I'm trying my best to go with this as removing a continuity, removing for this. But it gets really hard when you just look at it from a even its own merits and go, I don't know how she knew that there's there. Why isn't she gonna go? Why isn't he gonna go get there? Why is this character knowing this now? Why is like come on Kenobi? You're John Wick one moment, but then you can't hold a lightsaber for another.
Mm,
All right, man. This show's okay. I can't really give it that much of a huge end because we're doing this episode by episode.
mm,
But I think it. I think in a lot of ways, last episode might have been better, at
mm.
least in determination of just better environment, better. Just the bounty hunter idea was just neat, more neat. And as much as the Empire stuff you get, and Vader, it's nice to see him and hear him again. It does feel like a very fan fictiony moment.
Okay. All right.
So it's all right.
All right. So that was Kenobi, episode 3.